Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Georges River Council Sports Advisory Committee meeting. I declare the meeting open at 6:03 p.m. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters, and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work, and meet on these lands. Thank you everyone for attending, and I hope you enjoyed the workshop. I am Councillor Oliver Dimoski, and this is my first time chairing this meeting tonight. I would like to acknowledge the Mayor, Councillor Elise Borg's attendance at tonight's meeting and welcome our external presenters from the Office of Sport. I have an apology from Ross Bernays, Julian Finch, Kevin Green, Scott Henderson, Daryl Lane, Mark Smith, and Tanya Smith. Are there any other apologies?
Scott Holmes.
And Scott Holmes. Thank you. Can I please have a motion to accept apologies and grant leave of absence? Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Lansbury. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on Council's website. In accordance with Section 5 of Council's Code of Meeting Practice, the recording will be made available on Council's website. The order of business is as shown in the agenda, which has been made available. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is open. Doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed, confidential session, according to Section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Only if the meeting moves into a closed, confidential session will the public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of Council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. Item SAC017-25, confirmation of the minutes of the Georges River Council Sports Advisory Committee meeting held on 14th of August 2025. Can I call for a mover and a seconder? Mover, I can't see that far. Bill, sorry. And seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Second item on the agenda is the item SAC018-25, Cars Park Pool update. I'm calling for a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Nick. It was Nick. Nick's Mr. Nicksford. Can the manager, Kent Stroud, please provide an overview of this, and the Office of Sport, please provide an overview of this item.
Thank you, Chair. I take the information in the papers as read. Tonight we have a presentation from our colleagues at the Office of Sport, and they're going to get into some detail around the project. So I would take this opportunity to introduce James, Carolyn and Jeff. And tonight, James will be giving the presentation to the committee and taking questions. So I'd like you to come up, James, and you can sit here, mate, into the mic.
Thank you all, and thank you for having us tonight. We're very excited to be here and to provide an overview on the progress and some significant progress that's been made in the Cars Park Tool project. I think, as most people here are aware, the project is all about the redevelopment of the pool, the delivery of a 50-metre outdoor swimming pool with a swim wall, the addition of the 20 by 10 metre outdoor learn to swim pool, and then ancillary facilities and infrastructure to support both those facilities. The Office of Sport is leading the project on behalf of the New South Wales Government, with the support and I think today working very well with Council to progress the project. To that end, there was a project agreement that has been executed between the parties for the construction of the pools. So we're now, and we'll go through a bit of detail in a moment, but we're now very much in the delivery phase. So, as I said, a significant amount of work that's been done through that agreement process, but also to get us on the way with our design team and the like. As I said there, once completed, I think we'll have a really positive community facility that will be able to service learn to swim participants all the way up to the recreation swimmers as well. In terms of our scope, I've touched on a couple of these in the previous slide, but as it says there, we've got a 50-metre outdoor pool, which will be heated with a swim wall as well. So really giving us the maximum amount of flexibility within that structure. We have the 20 by 10 metre shaded, heated learn to swim pool. And then, as I said, we have a range of supporting amenities and infrastructure, so toilets, change rooms, we've got kiosks, lighting, etc. So the indicative image there on the page does just, I suppose, give a little bit of a sense of the layout of the site and the orientation of both those pools. The site itself, as you guys no doubt are aware, it's a constrained site, so we are fitting a lot onto that piece of land, and I think that initial concept is I think we've achieved the intent of the project and being able to deliver that scope on that site. So at the moment, that design is progressing and really developing, but I'd say in its form as it presents there, it hasn't changed significantly. So the concept as well, or this design does actually conform as well with the planning approval pathway. So this will be determined under the REF process. So there is no DA process as well, which does help us in terms of the delivery timeframes and associated approvals. Just got a couple of slides here, so we'll just talk a little bit about the pools themselves. So the 50-metre pool, as it says there, has been informed by both the design team, which includes our industry experts across a range of disciplines, as well as significant operator input to really ensure that what we're delivering there is best practice and does meet the needs of modern aquatic facilities. Again, as it said there, it's designed to Swimming Australia's local level facility requirements. A lot of those requirements, I suppose, are impacted in ways or in different ways. So the site constraints do present some challenges for us in terms of delivering on some of those higher level, I suppose, components as part of more higher level facilities. So things like the depth of the pool itself, being able to dive in at both ends, given the site constraints that we have, we're not in a position to do that. And I suppose the other challenge we have in that regard is obviously budget constraints as well. So, I think that what we're able to deliver here at that local level, does provide, a really, future-proof and facility to meet the needs of the community. As it says there, the local level pool is also sort of consistent with, that replacement pool approach. It is that like for like, if you like, replacement for what was there previously. And then also, I suppose the role that the Cars Park pool plays in council's broader, aquatic facility model. I've talked a little bit there about some of those site constraints and depth limitations, but there was obviously a fair bit of work that was done in terms of the remediation of that site. We do have some significant contamination challenges that we're designing around. So, as I say, it does present some significant sort of limitations to what we're able to deliver. So similarly, in terms of the learn to swim pool design, again, the site constraints, don't allow us to, to sort of deliver anything of, bigger than we have. I think just for context on this, the learn to swim pool, was obviously not part of the original scope. I think, we've gotten to a point through council and government that we've been able to include this, which I think is a fantastic, result for the project and the community. That pool itself, did start at a sort of more constrained capacity. So it was 15, by 8 with a splash pad. I think the removal of the splash pad and the ability for us to sort of maximise that learn to swim pool has resulted in a really good outcome. Like the 50-metre pool, the learn to swim pool configuration, has been informed by our project team. So our design team as well as our operators and to give us the best outcome to support that learn to swim product. So, focusing on those beginner classes and that water confidence, the learn to swim pool that is proposed as part of this, is able to adequately do that and does provide I think a significant capacity to support. I think what is proposed in terms of participation numbers for a pool like this. So that also in addition to the 50-metre pool, and as it said there, the introduction of the swim wall as part of that pool, the depth of that shallow end, again, does enable that sort of smooth transition from the learn to swim pool into the longer, the longest 50-metre pool as well. So, in a way, the depth limitations also do sort of provide us an advantage in terms of that transition between those pools. A bit of an overview of the timeline. So as I noted, our agreement's been executed. We've sort of concluded our preliminary site investigations, and our design team, who's been appointed, is well and truly underway in terms of progressing that design. This is, like probably multiple parts of this project, is really a critical time for us. We've got a really short, time frame to develop that design, to allow us to get to the construction market and appoint someone by sort of early next year. So a lot of work being happening at the moment between the design team, between ourselves and council in terms of progressing that design. But I think at the moment, they're progressing really well, which is pleasing. And as it outlines there, there's sort of a 12 to 15 month construction period with a completion date toward the back end of 2027. So it's a tight timeline, but as I say, I think at the moment, they're working really well and on program to achieve this. Just by way of communications, and I suppose keeping people informed of the progress of the project. Again, both council and Office of Sport have done a fair bit of work in this page. In this area. There's a dedicated project webpage that is now live and does provide a good overview in terms of what the project is, in terms of our delivery timelines. Today we're obviously taking this opportunity to come and brief this group, and we'll continue to take those opportunities as we move through the project, as well as other opportunities at key project milestones to ensure that the community continues to be informed of the project. Because as I say, I think there's a lot to like about this, and some real benefit that this will provide in time. So I think that's it. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I just have Mark Smith, who's president of METC in Sydney, has sent me through. He couldn't be here tonight. He sends his apologies, but he has sent me through this that I would like to read to you. And he's obviously got an in-depth knowledge of pools in and around Sydney, and so these are his thoughts. So as we consider the design of the new swimming complex, I want to emphasise the importance of a 25-metre pool as the preferred length of a learn-to-swim program pool. This distance is ideal for teaching essential swimming techniques. It allows our swimmers to master their skills in a manageable setting before they progress to longer distance. As they become more confident and proficient, they will naturally transition to swimming double, then triple laps seamlessly, preparing them for the standard 50-metre pool. Moreover, a 25-metre pool is not just beneficial for our swimmers. It is also a significant revenue opportunity for our complex. Parents are eager to enroll their children in swim programs that they are effective, safe, and accessible. Providing a 25-metre pool, we position ourselves as a leading facility that prioritises quality swimming education. A shorter pool could discourage participation and ultimately impact our ability to serve the community effectively. Beyond the length of the pool, we must consider the depth. An adequately deep pool is crucial for safety and enjoyment of older and larger children. A depth of 1.2 metres at the shallow end and 1.8 metres at the deep end strikes the right balance, enabling learners to practice diving safely while accommodating swimmers of all ages. The depth not only supports diverse swimming activity, but also ensures that our facility is inclusive and welcoming. To further enhance swim programs, we can incorporate submersible platforms for our younger swimmers. These platforms provide a safe and fun environment for toddlers to learn and grow. They are affordable and can easily be purchased by the end users of this complex, ensuring that families have access to quality resources right at their fingertips. We don't want a wading pool for kids to splash around. We need a purpose-built one suitable for teaching learn to swim. The complex at Bexley is a good example of what we can build. And in conclusion, we move forward with our plans. As we move forward with our plans for a swimming complex, let us commit to building a 25-metre pool that meets the needs of our community, and together we can create and foster learning and enjoyment for all swimmers, while also serving as a vital asset for our local community. And that's from Mark Smith, so who's got an in-depth knowledge. So I'm not sure if any of the other councillors want to have a word before we move on.
Thank you, Councillor Maud. Are there any other questions?
A few questions. Just with want to ask if you could just explain to the community, you mentioned in the slides the planning approval pathway and the implications for the Learn to Swim being just covered and not enclosed. If you could just explain that to the community.
Yeah, so under the requirement, the RAF process, we need to work with an outdoor pool. So any enclosed structure doesn't allow us to proceed down the pathway. So it doesn't constrain the future enclosing of the Learn to Swim pool. That can happen through a separate DA process, but based on the path that we're on at the moment, sort of enclosing that pool and the RAF, I suppose, conditions are very particular to the existence of an outdoor pool and I suppose the requirements that sit around that.
Thank you. And can that happen concurrently at the same time? So if we have the council undertakes the DA, gets it approved, can it be the enclosure be constructed at the same time as the pool construction, or just have to wait for the whole project to be completed and then we would go back in and construct the enclosure around it?
Do you mind if I welcome Jeff? Yeah, Jeff's got more of me.
G'day everybody. I just thought I'd better give James a break. So look, under the planning pathway, which is the REF, Review of Environmental Factors, that pathway was chosen because I guess time is of the essence with this project. The Office of Sport is the determination authority for that planning, and under advice from two different planners, as well as I guess legal counsel from within the Department of Planning. The pathway is appropriate if we do a couple of things. First of all, the project has to be built on behalf of council. We need to control the land in the short term, so that'll be done through a land license. Everything needs to be outdoors, and then we can't build either a gymnasium or basically grandstand, which has a separate DA process. So I guess that sets the scene. With regards to limitations around the Learn to Swim particularly, we have a significant site constraint to the south. We have to keep clear of trees, and there's also a heritage precinct that's linked to Carr's Cottage, which doesn't allow us to push any further south. We have a boundary to the east, which adjoins Crown Land, so we can't go any further to the east. And then to the west, we have a car park, so we only have so much space. So once we put all the amenities and the entries to the facility, and obviously toilets, change rooms, showers, plant rooms, the kiosks, admin areas for the staff, we're left with a very small footprint. And in terms of allowing for the future enclosure of that pool, we're, I guess, in that realm of 20 metres by 10, which includes sufficient, I guess, beginners swim training progression to the larger pool. Also has easy access for people with mobility impairment issues. In terms of the feedback we've got from industry, in terms of basically operator experts, together with, we've got two different designers that have expertise in the aquatic facility. The actual pool that's 20 by 10 is an appropriate dimension. I mean, it's basically the industry standard. So the depths we have for that pool are aligned to, I guess, what's happening in the private sector with regards to developers just coming in and developing specific Learn to Swim pools. So in some regards, I appreciate what Mr. Smith said, but in the context of the expertise we're receiving from obviously two significant architects have done an awful lot of aquatic facilities in the Sydney area and beyond, together with one particular operator that the council are familiar with. That, as far as, and then all the other constraints associated with the facilities we have to work with, the enclosure in the future, the 20 by 10 metre pool, we believe is appropriate for the site and the project.
And the enclosure of the pool, that DA can happen.
Well, we have to, our advice right now is we need to progress the project to a point where we're well ahead before, I guess, a DA lodgement would occur, because I understand it's got to go to the regional planning panel. So the advice we're getting is we don't want to rock the boat too much at this stage. So the focus is on the outdoor component, and that's the sort of main game in town, but being mindful in terms of design that we can enable the enclosure of the learn to swim at a time in the future, that'll be done reasonably easily. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we'll allow sufficient capacity in electrical substations. We'll have all the pipe work will be in the ground. We'll have thickened all the footings, so that basically it'll just be sort of like two Lego blocks that can be bolted on the top, and all the circulation that's required to support that enclosure works. Whereas if we went bigger with the pool, some of that stuff is in jeopardy.
Thank you.
Sorry, just to add, Madam Mayor, in regards to the DA, Jeff is right. The focus is on delivering the project as is, but behind the scenes, council's team is working on what would be the appropriate time for a DA, and within that ref process to not jeopardise what's happening, but we'll work behind the scenes to understand how they can happen simultaneously, if in fact that can. So
would the enclosure form part of the design? I know you're doing the designs to accommodate it being built there, but will the designs of the enclosure be part of the design process, or has to be done separately?
In terms of just, so right now we're focusing on finalising the detailed design phase. We're focusing primarily on the main game in town, which is the 50-metre pool plus the learn to swim outdoor. But we're being mindful of the fact we need to facilitate an outcome that, let's just say, aesthetically looks right. It's not as if we've dropped something in from outer space that floors the fundamental look and feel of the building. So the architects understand that the enclosure is part of the overall scheme at this stage. Now, in terms of design details about what the glazing looks like and what the actual structure is made up of, I think some of that more, I guess, detailed construction technical stuff won't be delivered at this stage.
And do you anticipate the learner swimming pool has lanes in it, or do you see that from other learner swimming pools that they're just open program pools, or would it have lanes, and if so, how many lanes in that width of?
Yeah, I can answer that. We've had some feedback from one of the operators. It wasn't her. Was it Hurstville Pool? What calls that? Anyway, so some of the other pools generally have a throughput of about 4,000 students a month. Sounds a lot, but once you divide, let's say 6 days a week divided by X number of hours per day, turns out to be about basically 20 kids an hour, or 20 students per hour.
Is that them working 24 hours a day? Is that swim classes running 24 hours a day?
No, it's not. It's, I think someone did the math and sort of said, let's assume 6 days a week. Let's assume it's like something like six hours a day. It turns into quite a small number. So in terms of lanes, which is probably a misconception in terms of teaching people how to swim, it's about giving people confidence. And then when they get to a point, maybe they swim up and down on the 20-metre pool and get to a point where they can then move from, I guess, that shallower depth of 1.2 and transition directly across to the larger pool at 1.2 metres. So then that fear factor is not so much there. We have a swim wall that can go up, which actually creates the 25-metre pool, as in terms of what Mr. Smith was saying is necessary. So I guess the two of them working together, and then this complex in the broader, I guess, just portfolio of aquatic assets that the council has, all in our expert opinion, with the advice we're getting, all sort of ties in nicely together.
Thank you. Thanks.
Can I just ask you a question about the swim wall? I've spoken to, I think our guys have been around quite a few pools also. I also spoken to Mark. So when you say the swim wall, is that the platform for the middle of the pool? Is that divides a 20?
No, so it
divide the 50
from the ground, but yeah, it does achieve the 225 metre pools, if you like. The movable boom is, I think, what you're referring to. So that's the structure that is actually fixed in the pool, and obviously can move up and down. That was originally proposed as part of this, but through our sort of consultation, visiting and talking to a number of the other pools, the preference is very strongly for a swim wall to achieve the same outcome. The the operational challenges with operating the movable boom, also the safety challenges that it poses, that people can actually get under a movable boom, was why the swim wall is preferred. So it is basically on the bottom of the pool and will come up and can also, as opposed to a movable boom, the swim wall can actually split the pool. You could keep 4 lanes at 50 metres and then you could have 4 at 25. If you know what I mean. So you don't have to split the whole pool. That does provide a little bit more flexibility in terms of how you can operate the pool. So
I would just add one thing to that in terms of the movable boom. From what we're hearing, it's sort of outdated technology. It takes some 4 hours to move the boom with 2 people, whereas a swim wall is a button, so you can configure that within minutes to go from a full 8-lane 50-metre pool into, like James alluded to, 4 lanes of 50 and 8 lanes of 25. So it's a lot more flexible.
Thank you for the update. You've actually answered a lot of questions that I had, particularly about the swim wall, because I've never actually seen one in operation, and I wondered if it would put the whole pool out of commission. So you have 2 25s, you can actually split it in half. So that makes,
For example, if you go to
Yeah.
the Parramatta pool,
okay.
they use it all the time.
Okay. One of the things that Nat read out from Mark Smith was about the depth of the pool. And I'm not sure, James, if you sort of mentioned there were some sort of constraints with the depth of the main pool. Is it going to be like 1.2 at one end and 1.8 at the other?
correct.
So which is pretty standard, right?
Yeah, local pool standard, it's 1.8.
Yeah.
It's actually 1.8 or greater is what the words say. So we've gone with 1.8. It's something that basically Swim Australia supports, as well as Royal Lifesaving. Also, because we have that nasty word contamination in the ground, but currently the site's been remediated. There's a capping layer in place.
Yeah.
To sort of mitigate any work associated with having to penetrate that capping layer and get back into that world of, I don't know if I want to use the word, but remediation, let's say, as a consequence of, I guess, destroying the integrity of the capping layer. The site, the design will work for us to put a 1.8 metre deep end pool in. They're currently going deep.
No, that's reassuring, as long as it's at least the 1.8, which I'm pleased
And
to
just the
hear.
way the site is and the rock and all that sort of thing, the orientation, which is north-south is general orientation for 50-metre pools, but it also allows us to put a shallow end to the south, which sort of aligns a bit more with the bedrock
Okay.
as you come away from the bay.
Okay. And with the actual design work, which I think on the timeline you're looking at having that completed sometime in January, is that something that will be provided to council/councillors to sort of have a look at before it progresses any further and is actually signed off?
Yeah, I think that the opportunities, I think through our project agreement, council is signing off on the design as well. But, okay, sorry if there's a formal process from your end. But
Yeah, in regards to the timeframes, we will try and work that into the schedule once we get to the pointy end of the design. But you can see it is a pretty, so the answer is yes, but it is a tight schedule as to how we would have that formal communication with councillors. So
Would there be, devil's advocate, if there was something in it that we thought was glaringly inappropriate, outrageous, not going to work, the community is going to lose their minds over, is there any scope to amend it, if at all possible?
I'll try my best to answer that one. Well, if councillor, if that comes up now, then it'd be a good time in the next little bit to bring those views forward. Because once you get to the pointy end of design, you know, you are talking, getting pretty close. So I suppose the forum between now and then is the time to bring up any, what I describe as deal breakers.
And I guess I get that, but without actually seeing what it's going to be in the end, and things, you know, things that I was hoping were going to be included, like a gymnasium, I think that's really crucial. But if I believe that none of those sorts of indoor, apart from like plant equipment, change rooms, those sorts of things will be included, yeah. But anything else, like a gymnasium, that's obviously not going to be included in the design work. But I know we're going to be answerable to the community on things like that, because they will expect those sorts of like type facilities to be included in the final design work. The sketch that we saw before was pretty much just the layout of where each particular component would be. That's great, but there's not sort of a whole lot of detail for us to work with. That's what I guess I'm talking about really, is, you know, as long as we can sort of convince the community, who've been desperate for this since the pool was closed in 2019, and this will be what, our 7th or 8th summer without a pool, that it is coming, and we'll be including there'll be as many inclusions within it as possible. But things like a gymnasium may be something that council will need to put forward in the next stage, so to speak, if there's scope in the site to include that.
The project scope doesn't include a gymnasium or some sort of wellness, health and wellness area, but to be mindful of what could happen over the horizon, and bearing in mind there is a whole heap of site constraints. There is an area which in the short term will be green space in some form, landscape, but it could be at a point in time in the future an addition that'll satisfy some of those needs in terms of I guess health and well-being, and also gymnasium type stuff.
I'll just sort of finish on this. Like, whilst I really appreciate that the Office of Sport, the Premier, is putting this forward, I mean, ultimately, we do as councillors want to provide a facility that gives the best options for the next 50 years for our community. And I would hate to sort of be in a position that the design work is signed off and we sort of look at it and we're like, no, that's not what we're expecting, if you understand what I'm saying. So it's just being able to have eyes on where it is as soon as possible would be great when it's completed. And I guess that would the difficult part of that would be if it's through January, which is holiday times and all the rest of it. But I think it's really important for us as councillors to be fully informed about what we are going to be delivering and what we've been advocating for very many years. So if we can be included as much as possible, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, noted.
Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, I'm going to.
Sorry, I've got one.
Oh, sorry.
Just want to know the exact numbers of how many kids would be able to learn to swim in that pool in the 20-metre pool.
1 hour or?
We
Oh.
might need to take that on.
A day, over one day.
We might
True.
take that on notice. I don't know.
Because I think, like, for us as a community, there's a generation of kids, 2 generations of kids that are missing out on learning to swim skills. They're life-saving skills. It is so important that kids have facilities for learning to swim. And this, to me, I'm sorry, but is a bit half-hearted, and it's not what the community are expecting. They have put so much time into rallying people, the cause of getting their pool back, and a proper learn to swim facility, a proper aquatic facility, which is what is afforded to almost every other LGA in New South Wales. We've got 150-metre pool operating in the whole of Georges River. That pool down at San Susie, with their little indoor 25-metre pool, is at capacity. You can't park anywhere near that place come Saturday morning. And as a grandparent, trying to get kids into learn to swim, we're going up to Sutherland. We're lucky that we can actually take our kids there, our grandkids there, because there's nowhere down here. But you have to make it easy for people, for families to get to these places, to get to swim centres. We have a massive migrant community evolving in Sydney. It was in the paper today of how many new arrivals we have. Where are these people going to learn to swim if we have this little pool here? You know, we should be thinking way into the future, in the next 50 years. That facility, what you're showing us today, I'm sorry to be going on, but what you're showing us today was built 50 years ago. That's there 50 years ago. Our population has it doubled in that time? You can bet it has. We need a proper facility. Thank you. I'm sorry for my rant, but
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, I'm calling this item, I'm putting this item for a vote. All those in favor say aye. All those against? I declare this moved. Oh, sorry, my first time. Thank you to everyone that came from office, from the Office of Sport, and thanks for your time and thanks for the presentation.
No worries. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, we can move on to the next item, item SAC 019-25, Sport Community Facilities and Events Update. Can I call for a mover on this item? Councillor Lansbury, and seconded by Dale Willis. Thank you. Can the manager, Margaret Lee, please provide an overview of this item?
Certainly through you, Chair. I'm joined by Greg Knight, our new Executive Manager of City Presentation and Operations, as well as Luke Galley, our Coordinator, Sport and Recreation. We're happy to give you some highlights in the world of sport, community facilities and events. So starting over with Luke with an overview of our events across our facilities.
Thank you, Margaret. Just kicking off with Jubilee Stadium updates and events. So we had an extremely busy quarter at Jubilee Stadium with the venue hosting 27 events and bookings across this period. Highlights included the final two St George Illawarra Dragons home games of the 2025 season, those being against the Sharks and the Sea Eagles. The NPL 1 men's and women's grand finals held on September 13th. The Australia Cup quarter-final held between Sydney FC and Auckland FC. And as well as our major events, we also had a range of community sporting events, including St George District Rugby League Junior Rep Trials, the New South Wales Rugby League Finals, and a TV commercial shoot, which again showcases the versatility of the facility and the venue. Our summer field of play renovations were also scheduled recently, which saw the grounds team successfully transition the field from our winter surface of Rye to our summer playing surface of Tahoma Cooch. This has been really positively received, and the feedback has been great from our hirers on both the quality of the playing surface as well as the standard that we set as a venue. Council also had some exciting things in the works for 2026 and beyond, with the stadium in the process of finalising 3 separate major event contracts, which will span across 26 and 27, providing more great content at the venue, along with a significant contribution to financial sustainability. Moving through to our managed facilities, at Hurstville Aquatic and Leisure Centre, Council has applied and is awaiting the outcome of the CEUF grant, which is the Community Electrical Upgrade Fund. So that's for the electrification of the pool plant, which aligns with our sustainability focus. We were recently informed that the grant assessment process has been delayed. I believe they've made their decision, but they haven't published the outcome. So we're hoping to get that by the end of November, if not the start of December this year. At Sans Souci, we're finalising the program of tiling works to occur in the indoor pool. This will result in a disruption of service between 10 to 14 days, likely over the Christmas break. We're working closely with Bluefit to minimise the impact of swimming programs and Learn to Swim and the impact of the community across the period. Over to Hurstville Golf Course, the club is hosting the PGA Legends Tour Pro-Am event in conjunction with Beverley Park Golf Course. This is happening on the 19th and the 20th of November, so next week, with 56 PGA professionals competing across the 2 days of competition. Hurstville Golf Club also just recently celebrated 20 years as a golf club, which is a great achievement to the club and a testament to their 25 active life members. We also recently resolved to extend the management agreement for Bluefit at the golf course for a further 2-year period, while a local planning proposal for use of the club function centre is undertaken. This will ensure ongoing service delivery and some continuity to our golfing community. At Ken Rosewell Tennis Centre, the request for tender for the management agreement at Ken Rosewell has been conducted, with all submissions progressing to the evaluation stage. The RFT evaluation outcome is targeted for the December council meeting. And lastly, at Norm O'Neill Cricket Centre, following the expressions of interest process, we have progressed to a selective tender stage. Again, with aims to have an adopted outcome for the management of that site by Q1 in 2026. I'll pass it back to Margaret.
Thanks, Luke. Got too many devices. So a little bit of
Could I just quickly ask a question on the Ken Rosewell tender? And people who've tendered, are they aware of the timings that a decision will come to council in December? I just know that we've received a number of communications from as councillors from members of the community on this particular tender. So just wanted to know if the tender are informed of the timeline.
To you, Madam Mayor, we have kept the incumbent operator informed of the timelines and the proposed evaluation period and the report to council. We're also working with the incumbent on the commercial arrangements during this time, prompting them for any further extensions or if there are delays. So they are aware of that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So just a bit of a snapshot of some lovely community and council collaboration in the past quarter. So council was a sponsor of the Beachside Dash, which was a lovely community event that raised over $100,000 for medical research and engaged over 1,000 participants, seeing the promotion of health, inclusion and local partnerships. Also, at Gannons Park, council held its inaugural memory jog and walk that raised over $20,000 for Dementia Australia, and that was a great way to showcase the strong community spirit and support council's dementia action plan and raising awareness about this health initiative. We've continued to progress on a notice of motion earlier this year regarding promoting respect and safety and community sporting matches. So we have ongoing dialogues with Football St George, including having a co-hosted free de-escalation training on the 24th of November, and that's open to all sporting codes to attend in person at council for free, and that's around managing aggressive behaviour to boost awareness and ensure that there are strategies in the community to ensure that we have that safety and respect at our local sporting matches. And another item to highlight that's kind of new to this committee is that's been progress regarding the basketball feasibility study. So this has been a resolution of council to undertake a feasibility study. Funds had been committed as part of council's annual budget, and council has been working in partnership with Basketball New South Wales to progress to a request for quotation that we expect to go out by the end of November, seeking a suitable organisation to assess the two previously adopted sites for consideration, being the Johnny Warren Indoor Stadium as well as Tullawalla Reserve, and any additional sites that could be this, the site for a 4-court indoor stadium that services the needs of St George Basketball Association as well as other indoor court and other indoor sports organisations.
I've got another question. Just on the de-escalation training, I think it's a really good initiative. Could you just explain, is it hosted by a third party? Is it after hours? Is it on weekends? How long does it go for? Just so members of the committee might be more interested to attend.
Yep, certainly, Madam Mayor. So we've got this de-escalation training. So in partnership with Football St George, we're working with Office of Sport. They will be coming to deliver this 3-hour free training session. It's going to be on Monday, the 24th of November at 6 to 9 p.m. At Georges River Council.
Thank you.
And the last slide from me, so it's that time of the year again. I'm sure for those who this is relevant to, we've got our winter 2026 expressions of interest open for our field hire. So again, we have the dates on the screen. This has been broadly communicated. We are applying our newly adopted sports ground access policy with having a better aligned time frame with seasonal EOIs and allocations with our neighbouring councils, being Bayside. So we've got their commitment to have allocations out before Christmas so that sporting organisations can plan their 2026 winter season. I've got here that a new element that we're introducing as part of the expression of interest is a survey form that has been broadcasted to all hirers. The purpose of this additional data collection is so that council can understand each club's operations, your priorities, and your future needs. And so, should there be a clash where there are two or more organisations seeking to access the same field at the same time, that we have the data available from each club to be able to fairly assess and transparently assess and determine who those allocations should go to. But further to that, that data just helps give council an understanding of to be able to plan for our long-term upgrades, facility improvements, and capital works. And just a reminder that this is a mandatory process for each club to complete, so that at the end of the day we have that data at a club level. I'll just hand over to Greg for the final few slides.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thanks very much for your time tonight. We're the Operations and City Presentation Division, myself and Peter Gray, our acting head of Sports Turf. We take care of the natural grass playing fields, the synthetic fields, plus all the built assets in your facilities. This year, the transition from winter codes to summer hirers went quite well, considering it was the wettest August on record in some parts of Sydney, and then hotter and drier than average October followed that. But we've got through all of our program work, the weed control, pest management, fertilising, irrigation of irrigating all that new work, and our normal aeration and decompaction. So we're able to get all that done between a combination of staff and contractors, all delivered on time to set us up for the summer ahead. The ryegrass transition, it's the initiative to try and maintain that turf cover during the winter months. We now have the problem of getting rid of that in the summer months to allow our underlying turf species to grow through. So that's an ongoing thing we're managing with our irrigation, our spray programs and maintenance activities. When we put this together a few weeks ago, the BOM was advising of a hotter and drier than average summer. They're now forecasting a perfectly average summer. But for all our turf facilities, we're planning to allow our staff to have a break period, but also have a plan in case we do get a heat wave at any time over the next couple of months, and try and keep all these facilities fit for use and ready for the community. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Oh, sorry. Yep, questions.
Just wanted to plug a few things before we hand over to the next presenter. So just wanted to recognise that this was the last meeting for this term of the Sports Advisory Committee, and that we'll be calling for an expression of interest for 2026 year's committee members. So all existing members are definitely welcome to apply and to share the opportunity to your broader networks. We'll be emailing you next week once that is live on Council's website. Another opportunity we wanted to share with the Sports Advisory Committee is that we're seeking expression of interest. If your sporting organisation would like to be part of our 2026 Australia Day picnic down at Cars Bush Park, could be a great way for you to do a sort of registration day and provide some hands-on activities to be part of Council's outdoor festival program there. So Mel will have a flyer if you'd like to pick that up, but we'll also email that out next week when we send the draft minutes as well.
Sorry, were there any questions?
I was wondering when the lighting order will come out publicly.
We will do a workshop with the Sports Advisory Committee about the principles that were required. The audit has been received from Council, and Kent, who's just left with the Office of Sport, has sat down with his team and Luke's team, and we've assessed it based on a number of criteria. So we'll present that back to the Sports Advisory Committee to get the input as well before rolling that out into a program of works.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Just in relation to the basketball feasibility study, I note that you've gone out to look for a new stadium that can facilitate 4+ sport courts. What I'm interested in knowing is how we can get futsal on the agenda. Futsal is a growing sport. I've been involved in futsal for the last 15 years. And what we've noticed is we're losing venues. Right now, we're going to Marrickville PCYC. It's only got an allocation during the summer period on Sundays. It is, like I said, it is growing. It is recognised as one of the best tools for football development. I was just wondering, I know you've said other sports in here, but what I've noticed is futsal tends to get allocation by exception when no one else is using it. And we'd like to be able to secure a regular booking.
Thank you through the chair. So this first stage of the project is to conduct a feasibility assessment of possible locations where there could be a future building that accommodates for indoor sports courts. As part of the study, the scope of the study will be to have the consultant meet with council identified relevant stakeholders that could inform what would be the requirements, what would be the must-haves and nice-to-haves for a future indoor stadium. And as part of that, thank you for raising that, futsal is very keen to be a part of those external stakeholders.
Thank you. And any other questions? Okay, thank you, Margaret, Greg, and Luke. Thank you. I'm moving this item for a vote. All those in favor say aye. All those against? I carry that item forward. And now we came to the last item on the agenda, item SAC 020-25, Sporting Infrastructure Capital Works Update. I'm calling for a mover, Nicholas Smitley, and seconder, Dale Willis. Thank you. Can the manager, Tom Heath, please provide an overview of this item?
Good evening all. I note it's 7:01, so I'll whip through these. This is just an update of what we provided previously at the last presentation, and this is just an update of the current 25-26 Capital Works program. As we'll identify each time with this, we can, the QR code goes to our website and provides a monthly update of all our projects, and this is across all of our different project types, not just sports facilities, which is tonight what I'm talking about. The Penshurst Park operable fence construction. So we have a DA out at the moment. It's the public exhibition period is closed. There were 4 submissions that will go back into the internal DA team, where it will go to a future local planning panel for determination. We are unaware of what time that determination will be and which local planning panel that will go to. So we'll provide an update when that happens. Following that, any conditions which mitigate the construction of that will be looked at, and then we'll continue on with this project. Olds Park Premium Sporting Facility, so the tenders are closed for this. The evaluation process is ongoing, and a report will go to the December council meeting for ideally the engagement of a contractor with the progression and commencement of this construction in the next calendar year. The Olds Park Shared Sporting Facility, Sporting Lights, we have engaged a contractor. They have been inducted to the site with their requirements now to look at what we do in terms of the community notification process, and then that will time that construction. So we're just waiting on their construction documentation to identify the pedestrian management plans and things like that. So once that's done, that project will progress. Olds Park Sports Amenity Building roof replacement. So this is just the design of it. The replacement of a degraded roof. The design of this has been undertaken. We'll be taking a report to the December council meeting with the progression of construction early into the new year, prior to next year's winter season. The green sporting amenity, the design is progressing. It's nearing completion. We'll look towards the future construction of this facility. That's the render of what we're proposing it to look like, with a significant community consultation undertaken as part of that one. Jubilee Stadium Eastern Amenities design. So the design has been completed on this toilet block. We know how much it's going to cost, and we'll be looking to present something to council in the near future in terms of a progression of a DA prior to any future construction. But the design phase of this project has been completed. Riverwood Park field upgrades. We've spoken to a couple of the representatives in this room and that aren't here tonight regarding this project and what that means from a future movement to another site while this project's ongoing. This is identified as 2 financial years. We are in the evaluation process of this this design and construction tender with a looking to progress into construction early next calendar year. Pecos Park Adventure Play Space, the designers have been engaged for this. So this is looking at a youth precinct, including biking and parkour facilities. The consultant even brought in their own parkour consultant, which is a thing that I didn't know existed. So that will progress to the detailed design with future construction. This is grant funded from a design perspective. Gifford Park Sports Amenities. I was out today for a procurement briefing with architects regarding this project. There are some significant site constraints associated with the site, so this is where we're looking for an architect to come up with a good solution using our standard designs. So the RFQ process, the procurement process on this closes in a couple of weeks' time. We'll look to evaluate ideally this side of Christmas with the engagement of an architect this side of Christmas with the progression into next calendar year. Quarry Reserve North Courts amenities refurbishments. So a design consultant is looking to be engaged for the full precinct. So this is the court reconstruction and the amenities and associated infrastructure, including the access road. The City Operational Services team has done a deep clean of the courts, allowing ideally some form of access coming into the summer months. But with the broader design of the precincts to be undertaken prior to any future construction. Todd Park Sporting Amenity Consultation. So this financial year, it's been identified to do a broader consultation on this project. So this will be undertaken early in the new calendar year. And that's it.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions?
Yeah, at least one. I've been very excited about this project for Olds Park for 3 years now, coming on 3 years. I think I'm getting a little bit anxious. The financial reality is that costs will have blown out. Is it going to cost more money than the $7.5 million that was originally granted? And what impact will that have on a start date in January, February?
That's under the procurement process, so I'm actually unaware at this point in time of the cost of what they're looking at. So when that determination has been made by the evaluation panel, I'll be aware. We have a cost estimate done prior to us going out to tender that identified an increase beyond the $7.5 million. We've already identified that as a risk of the project and provided a mitigation strategy of how we would look to reduce that stress.
So is there some chance that it might be scaled downwards, or
no capacity to scale down that building? You'd have to restart again with the design if that was to occur.
Okay. And the original grant from the New South Wales government, the $5 million, does that expire?
Remains.
That remains, so it won't be suddenly taken back if we don't.
We're progressing the design and the construction milestones have been identified associated with the grant funding.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Yeah.
Any other questions? Nick?
It's Wayne to Gifford Park. Are you able to elaborate what the constraints are for the designs?
Yeah, so the site doesn't currently have any sporting amenities. It only has a small public amenity. So the scale of a building to have 2 change rooms, a canteen, a storage room, and the public amenities is roughly a 40-metre build. So based on the site and those sorts of things, it's understanding where that will sit. The current site where the public amenities is, if we were to extend that beyond into the 40 metres, we actually create a separation between the playground and the sporting field, which we have had previous understandings that that's something we don't want to do. You don't want to have a parent with 2 kids, one in the playground, one training. So we need to mitigate those risks where we can. There are other locations, but they're quite adjacent to residential properties. We understand the residential property issues around that site previously, so those things need to be considered. So the first portion of anyone who it's successful architect will need to do a feasibility study and assess the capacity of the facility at any site within that precinct, and then we'll identify what that goes with.
Yeah, so could we maybe organise a meeting with the residents and the club there to maybe try and work on a solution, if that's possible?
So the feasibility study will identify that.
Oh,
At
excellent.
that point in time, a concept would be developed and we would go to community consultation around that. So that would be, the club would be a significant stakeholder in that,
Yep.
while the surrounding residents would also be around.
Excellent, thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I'll put this item for a vote. All those in favor say aye. All those against? I declare the item moved. There have been no other business on the agenda. I declare this meeting closed at 7:08 p.m. Thank you.